Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the DFO DFS Hockey Report. It is Thursday, November the 6th. I hope everyone's having a fine Thursday afternoon. Zach, you paid your dues yesterday and had your best DFS, NHL DFS night of the season. So congratulations to you. We joked about it after the show, just needed to lift the curse, and maybe we have now.
Yeah, it has not been a very good start whatsoever for me for the DFS streets this season. So it was kind of nice to get a little bit of a metaphorical monkey off the back last night and turn a bit of a profit on the main slate. Now the key is going to be, can I do it 2 days in a row? So here we go.
We shall see. We got a beautiful looking 9-game slate on our hands this evening, so I will get right into the starting goalies. Literally no clue who starts for the Carolina Hurricanes, but it will be Philip Gustafsson for the Minnesota Wild. Jacob Markstrom will go for the New Jersey Devils. Jakub Dobeš gets the start for the Montreal Canadiens. It'll be Jonas Korpisalo for the Bruins as they host the Ottawa Senators, who will go with former Boston Bruin Linus Ullmark. I think this is the second time. I feel like it's the second time this year that we've been denied the Swayman versus Ullmark battle. I don't understand why that keeps happening. But anyways, I guess it's Korpisalo's former team as well. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen gets the start for the Buffalo Sabres. It's nice to have him back in the mix. I think that's the first time I've got to say that name on the show this year. Joel Hofer starts for the St. Louis Blues. He obviously entered yesterday's game in relief of Jordan Binnington, who can't stop anything, but either can Joel Hofer, so who really cares? Artur Silovs gets the start for the Pittsburgh Penguins. They're without Tristan Jarry moving forward. Sergei... What's his name? Murashov? Can never remember how to say his last name. Murashov. Sergei Murashov is their backup goalie now. He's actually quite good. I can't wait to see him get some starts and hopefully steal the crease from Silovs because Murashov was their best goalie during the preseason. He was the AHL Player of the Month in October, just been unbelievable. I was hoping to see him start tonight, but it will be Artur Silovs this evening. But just keep that name in the back of your head, especially if you're playing season long. Murashov could be a stud for the next couple of weeks while Yari's out and maybe play himself into a bigger role. Second half of a back-to-back for the Washington Capitals, it's likely going to be Charlie Lindgren, obviously. Been basically the tale of two different goalies here in Washington. Logan Thompson's been absolutely lights out, and Charlie Lindgren has been more than gettable so far this season. A 346 goals against average and 880 save percentage thus far. One really good game, though. UC Saros projected to get the start for the Nashville Predators. It will be Dan Vladar back between the pipes for the Philadelphia Flyers. Disappointing night the other night. It'll be Jake Ottinger for the Dallas Stars versus Lukas Dostal for the Anaheim Ducks in what will be a pivotal game for tonight's DFS slate. Then the late games, we've got Darcy Kemper and Sergei Bobrovsky as our projected goaltending matchup there. Unconfirmed both of those. And then we've got Carl Lindbaum getting the start for the Vegas Golden Knights, likely going to see Andrei Vasilevsky for the Tampa Bay Lightning. What a shit show last night. 500 shots for Vancouver and Columbus and absolutely nothing. Yes, the Spencer Knight play certainly worked. That was spectacular. I didn't have enough of him. I had a small chunk, but not enough. The Columbus thing, that was great to see. All that Jet Greaves ownership, Calgary actually worked out. Unfortunately, the goal scoring was a little too spread out for Calgary. It would have been nice to see one of those two lines kind of hammer it home, but nonetheless, a solid night for us there. Let's get into tonight's game. I'll open it up with Carolina versus the Minnesota Wild. The Hurricanes are minus 188 home favorites in this one. Minnesota 2.6 implied total on the road as what would be the biggest underdogs on the slate. Minnesota has gotten it going a little bit lately. They're going to continue to roll with the lines that we've seen a lot recently with Kaprizov, Rossi, Johansson, Boldy, Eriksson, Tarasenko. Carolina is also going to stick with their configuration from last game, which made them a little bit more affordable. You got Hall, Aho, Svechnikov on the top line, Ehlers, Stankoven, and Blake on the second line, Jarvis down there on that third line. The one big difference for the Hurricanes tonight is they're expected to get K'Andre Miller back, which leaves some questions because when Gostisbehere first went down, K'Andre Miller was the one that replaced him on the top power play unit. Whether or not that will be the case, we don't know. We didn't see them run any power plays. So could be Sean Walker remaining up there, could be K'Andre Miller. We shall see there. But let's get into the top stacks of the night here. I don't know what this could possibly be organized by, but let's clean it up here and get to game number 1, where Carolina 2 grades out as the the 4th best line to target this evening. Minnesota 1 as the 5th best line to target. Then you've also got Carolina 1 graded out 11th best. Both the top 2 lines for the Carolina Hurricanes are 13,500 and 13,800, both under 14K. Extremely affordable. And the matchups here for them are quite good. They are in a pretty good spot here against this Minnesota Wild team, which has been a little bit better defensively as of late, but still struggling by and large to keep the puck out of their own net, which is not a good thing to do when you are facing a team as good as the Carolina Hurricanes. The Minnesota Wild currently rank 8th worst in the NHL in terms of 5v5 expected goals against. The Carolina Hurricanes are 2nd best. So this should be a pretty sizable 5v5 advantage for the Carolina Hurricanes. When you look on the power play, it gets a little bit worse. Their power play has not been very good, converting at just 11.4% this season. But the good news for them is they run into the league's worst penalty kill, killing penalties at a alarmingly bad 66.7% rate. So I guess the only thing that the Wild have going for them is that they are very disciplined. So it's kind of a mix of two things. It's a Carolina power play that's been meh against a really shitty but disciplined Minnesota power penalty kill. So I really like the Carolina Hurricanes this evening, drawing little to no ownership. I think this is a tremendous spot for them. Really like both of the top 2 lines. I think my preferred target is certainly the second line. Their matchup is almost identical to the top line. The offensive metrics, though, are quite a bit better than the top line. I mentioned it the other day. I basically fixed Evander Kane with that tweet, and then I said that Nikolai Ehlers would score the following night. He did that as well. So I fixed Nick Ehlers. I've been playing the second line with Stankoven and Blake as a mini all season. Now that you get Ehlers in there at 13,500, easily one of my favorite value stacks on the night. This seems like an absolutely splendid spot for them. The Minnesota side of things, we've talked about it. The Carolina Hurricanes struggling a little bit more defensively than we are kind of used to seeing. They currently rank 24th in the NHL, so just one spot ahead of Minnesota in terms of 5v5 expected goals against. The matchup score is pretty solid across the board for Minnesota. The top line is the only one really doing much in terms of generating quality looks on a consistent basis. So I don't mind getting back to them a little bit here tonight. They're not trying any ownership. They've been like chalk every single game, basically all season long. 17,000 to full stack them seems fine. I don't love this spot really, but I'll probably get to a little bit Minnesota. Like this is a team that's playing pretty well right now offensively. Mojo's got it going. They got some good value pieces, but I don't know. When push comes to shove, I'll probably end up not playing a ton of Minnesota, but they grade out well, so I'll probably get there a little bit. What are your thoughts on this game? Like, I bet the over in this one. This has the look of one that could be pretty high scoring, which is kind of surprising to say, right? Like typical Minnesota Carolina games, those are in years past at least have been two very good defensive clubs that do a really nice job shutting the opponents down, where this year that's not exactly been the case. So I do think that there could be some fireworks in this one with very limited ownership. How about you?
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I think it's going to be a matter of time until the Hurricanes improve defensively. Once they start to get guys like Jacob Slavin back in the lineup, obviously Keandre Miller returning here tonight, that's going to be a bit of a boost, to say the very least, for their blue line. I think for that reason, I'm okay getting to a little bit of this Minnesota side. Kaprizov and Rossi have really good career numbers against Carolina, which is kind of random. 6 goals and 8 points in 6 games played for Cappy, and Rossi's got 5 apples in 4 games played as well. So I think I'm okay sprinkling a little bit of this Minnesota side in a deeper tournament in a 20 max or something like that. Freddie Anderson has been fine to start the season, only a 43% quality start percentage though this season. So I think Freddie's a guy who's kind of gettable here still. I don't mind getting to a little Minnesota. Definitely got some interest in Carolina here. 5% for each of these lines I think is fairly reasonable in a big field contest tonight.
Yeah, and we saw it the other night with the New York Rangers. I mean, they generated a ton of shots, 57 shot attempts in that game, 26 shots on net, north of 2.5 expected goals for in all situations. They're just a team that's super snake bitten. So this is a Carolina team that you can get to a little bit. Definitely the return of Miller will help tonight, but I think that for the first time, it feels like this season we're talking about Minnesota at a little bit lower ownership, really seeing nothing to speak of. Let's get to game number 2. Let's get to New Jersey and Montreal.
Yeah, we got the New Jersey Devils paying host to the visiting Montreal Canadiens. Devils coming in as the home favorites, minus 138 on the money line, 3.3 implied total for them, 2.9 for the Canadiens. Montreal won, grading out really well in the charts tonight as the third best line to target overall. Very little ownership here coming in this game. New Jersey 2, they're always going to look good. New Jersey 1, always looking good as well, coming in as the 12th and 24th best lines to target in this game tonight. This Montreal side of things has some really good matchup scores. This whole all four lines look like they grade out really well here tonight on this spot. New Jersey, that top line looks to be the one with the best matchup score. When you start to look at the line stats here, it's kind of surprising. I mean, the Devils have been struggling defensively this season, which doesn't really feel like it's been the case in years past for this New Jersey team. They've been a bit banged up here and there. That top six still chugging along at a decent clip. Want to see some more goals from that top line. Jack Hughes has certainly been the straw that stirs the drink to steal your line there. And Jesper Bratt has been fine to start the season as well. Stefan Nason up there on that top line today. I think he's an okay value play. At what is his price? $3K here tonight. I don't know if I'm going to get a ton of ownership in this game. Me, I'm kind of a Montreal truther, so I like the fact that I see a really solid matchup score here for this top line. They're going to be spending 43% of their ice time going up against that Devils second line. And again, the defensive metrics have not been good for this New Jersey team this season. Jacob Markstrom between the pipes for the Devils. He's not been great this season. 4 starts this year. He's got 3 wins in them, only 1 quality start, 875 save percentage and a negative 2.3 goals saved above expected. On the other side of things too, Jakub Dobeš getting the start for Montreal. He's looking like a guy who could maybe carry this team as the starting goaltender. 6 starts this year, 6 wins, 83 quality start percentage, 930 save percentage, 10 goals saved above expected. I can see why there's a lack of ownership here coming in this game in general, especially on this Devil side of things, just considering how good Dobeš has been this season. It's not like Dobeš is drawing a lot of ownership here in the crease either. Just 1.2% ownership. I think I'll be a bit over the field on that here tonight, to say the very least. I don't think there's any reason to go crazy here in this game, but I do kind of like this Montreal 1 side of things. New Jersey, I just kind of feel like I'm wanting to see more from them here. It just feels like they've been a bit disappointing to start the year.
It's very interesting. I don't know what the difference is, but so these charts are powered by Natural Stat Trick, which is a free resource and readily available. And their underlying metrics are a lot different than Sports Logic, which is got New Jersey as a very good defensive team. They are, in terms of 5v5 expected goals against, New Jersey's 3rd best in the league. Natural Stat Trick has New Jersey as the 9th worst 5v5 expected goals team. So I don't really know which one is true. I would tend to lean towards Sports Logic, and I think that maybe these New Jersey metrics are a little bit skewed. So for that reason, I'll probably be off of Montreal tonight. And in the same breath, Montreal grades out pretty well defensively, top 10 in the league in terms of 5v5 expected goals against. The power plays, neither one in a tremendous spot. The New Jersey penalty kill has been spectacular. The Montreal PK has been not great, but they've at least been the New Jersey power play is just 2.5 times per game. So this game to me doesn't really feel like one I'm going to target too much. And especially if Sports Logic's data about these teams being better defensively than maybe what Natural Stat Trick suggests comes to fruition. So I don't play Montreal. We're the complete opposite there. I don't play Montreal very often. You do. I do play New Jersey fairly frequently, but I think with Dobeš between the pipes, I'll probably stay away here in this one and just probably avoid this game for the most part. Any final thoughts before we get to Boston and Ottawa?
No, let's move it along.
Let's get to the Bruins, who are plus 124 home underdogs here, 3.3 implied total for the visiting Ottawa Senators. When you take a look at this one, we've got that's the wrong game. We've got nobody really grading out tremendously well. Ottawa 3 continues to grade out extremely well among their peers here. That team as a whole grading out obviously significantly better than the Boston Bruins. The Bruins have just atrocious matchups tonight, really good matchups on the Ottawa Senators side of things. The offensive metrics for the Bruins continue to be piss poor. The underlying metrics for the Sens obviously not very good either. This third line really the only one that's got anything going. But the top line, Stutzla Batherson's been pretty hot as of late. This Ottawa side not really drawing much ownership at all. Again, according to Sports Logic here, the Ottawa Senators 10th best in terms of 5v5 expected goals against, the Bruins 21st. So I definitely prefer the Ottawa side of things in this game. Ottawa is also kind of middle of the pack in terms of 5v5 expected goals for us. They're not really a great 5v5 team, basically average at both ends of the ice, but they do have the fourth best power play advantage of the night. It's a spot where they're expected to see 3.8 power plays tonight, which is the second highest on the entire slate. It's also a power play that's been pretty solid against a PK that grades out 18th, although they have killed plenty of penalties. But without Jeremy Swayman between the pipes tonight, I do think obviously Jonas Korpisalo a little bit more gettable. Especially given the fact that this is an Ottawa Senators team that is pretty familiar with Jonas Korpisalo, coming off of maybe his best performance of the season, 2 good performances in a row. Really, we'll see how things go this evening as he still comes in with an 882 save percentage on the season. So I'm certainly interested in getting mostly to this Ottawa power play because I don't really love the way this lineup looks. I think it makes it very difficult to stack. So Stutzla Batherson. Probably 2 guys that I'm focused on, maybe a little bit of Shane Pinto one-offs, maybe Shane Pinto, Shabbat, mini stacks. Because, maybe Giroux, Pinto as well, those mini stacks. Those are the avenues that I'm probably going to go. I don't think this game is one that I really need to be jamming in, but with such little ownership, I think that they make for an okay low-owned spot here tonight. And as CFL fan points out, Ottawa is rested. I feel like we haven't talked about Ottawa in forever. When was the last time they even played hockey? They haven't
great
played since Saturday. Wow. Very well rested. Very well rested. Let's get to game number 4, unless you have any thoughts on Ottawa Boston quick.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I've got a lot of interest in Ottawa 1 here tonight. This feels like a really nice spot, especially for Tim Stutzla and Drake Batherson. They've been red hot over their last 10 games played. Drake Batherson, 5 goals, 10 assists. Tim Stutzla, 6 goals and 7 assists as well. And both of them have been, point per game players against the Bruins in their career. This feels like a nice spot here to kind of get to the Senators. Obviously, that top line continuing to shoot the lights out here. But it feels like a Boston team that's extremely gettable defensively. So I've got a lot of interest here in Ottawa 1. Probably get to some of that Ottawa 3 line as well, considering how good they've been this season. But like you said, moving on to game 4 here on the night, we've got the Buffalo Sabres hosting the Jordan Kyrou-less St. Louis Blues. Bold strategy Cotton to scratch one of their best players here tonight. Buffalo 1 grading out pretty well in the charts here tonight as the 7th best line to target overall on the slate. $17,300 to full stack Ryan McLeod, Tage Thompson, and Alex Tuck as they kind of shift up their lines here a little bit. I like the looks of this Buffalo side here tonight. I talk about it a lot on this show, stack any team that's playing against the St. Louis Blues, considering how bad they've been defensively this season. Buffalo doesn't really grade out with the best matchups here in this game. They're certainly more favorable towards the St. Louis side, but the metrics look good here for this Buffalo 1 line. Tuck, Tage Thompson, obviously these are guys that are strong offensive players for this team. Ryan McLeod, take him or leave him, but at $3,200, I feel like he's more than a fine play here on this slate tonight, given this matchup. A little bit of ownership coming in this way here on this Buffalo side of things too, 5% for this top line. St. Louis 2 drawing 2%, St. Louis 1 drawing 4% ownership here. I still got some interest in playing this St. Louis side of things. Maybe this Jordan Kyrou scratch kind of helps motivate them a little bit to kind of pull their head out of their asses here, because it has been a tough sledding for much of the season for this St. Louis side of things. So fire me up on this Buffalo 1 line. I don't know if I'm going to get there on this second line. I think Josh Doan's a fine play at 4K, maybe a little bit more than a fine play, considering Jordan Greenway and Peyton Krebs just do not shoot the puck whatsoever. So I don't mind the idea of some Doan one-offs here tonight. Power play matchups aren't very great in this game. Buffalo's power play has struggled. And while St. Louis's penalty kill has been abysmal this season, 67.6%, it's only the 10th best matchup on that front here on this slate tonight.
Ottawa's penalty kills at 62.5%. So bad. Guess we should have talked about the Boston power play a little bit more. Maybe some David Pastrnak tonight. I feel similar to you. It's probably mostly just a little bit of Buffalo one thing. I like the look of that line getting put together. The Blues, like, I don't really know, man. Like, this team continues to grade out pretty well defensively. According to Sports Logic, they've given up 12.2 goals above expected on the season. The second worst is Ottawa at 7.4. So literally 5 goals more than the second worst team. Just abysmal goaltending across the board. And yeah, Hofer's not looked good this year. I think Buffalo's in a good spot here to take advantage of it this evening. But yeah, Doan one-offs are fine. Mostly my interest coming to that top line. Maybe a little bit of St. Louis won tonight, but like the offensive metrics are just kind of okay. The matchups are pretty good, but yeah, maybe a little bit of St. Louis won with Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen to get the start. Thomas looked pretty decent last night. Snugger, good shot volume, but this team just doesn't inspire confidence whatsoever. Washington and the Penguins. The Penguins minus 101, the Capitals minus 109. I believe this is the 99th all-time matchup or all-time regular season matchup between Crosby and Ovechkin. I really wish I could remember if that was okay. Let me pull it up here. This is let me see. Now I feel like I'm lying. Yeah, definitely seem to be 99th career time, 74 regular season games, 25 playoff meetings between these two. Anyways, fun little tidbit. Toss-up game here with the Capitals in the second half of a back-to-back. What's very interesting about this one for the Pittsburgh Penguins is our guy, Ben Kendall, gets moved up to the top line this evening. He also has been a guy that we've been chasing a little bit, limited minutes because he's been on that top power play unit. Don't have to worry about that anymore. 17,000 full stack against Charlie Lindgren, who's been really, really bad this year. So I like Pittsburgh 1. Pittsburgh 2 has been the same without Justin Brazeau. He's quite clearly the straw that stirs the drink. It's obviously Malkin, but they haven't been as good without Brazeau. It's worth noting. So yeah, Pittsburgh 1 seems to be in an okay spot. The underlying metrics really good. The problem is the Capitals are extremely good defensively. But again, with Charlie Lindgren going to start second half of back-to-back, I think Pittsburgh 1 can get there tonight. It's worth mentioning they are going to see a pretty healthy amount of ownership, most of it coming in on Ben Kindle. So yeah, it's a decent spot. Not one that I'm going to get carried away with, but I'm definitely going to be playing some Pittsburgh 1. On the flip side, Washington 2, Washington 1. We liked Washington 2 a little bit more last night. I threw out Washington 1 as a line that I would get to as well. Beauvillier and Ovechkin were great. Dylan Strome did absolutely nothing. The second line, Tom Wilson was great. Protas and McMichael did nothing. So kind of take it or leave it here with either line. Both really good underlying metrics. Matchup-wise, quite good. Power play matchup is terrible, but it's pretty good for the Pittsburgh Penguins side of things. Their power play has been scorching hot, just not getting enough calls going their way, just 2.5 power plays per game. But really nice power play matchup here for Pittsburgh. So that is basically what solidifies my interest of Pittsburgh 1. Decent 5v5 opportunity tonight, but really good power play matchup, and they fully correlate on that top unit. Erik Karlsson's been playing pretty well. So I'll definitely get to some Pittsburgh. I will definitely get to some Washington in this one. Exactly how I attack the Capitals remains to be seen. I seem to just always kind of flock towards the second line more than the top line, and that will probably end up being the case again tonight. How about you, Zach?
Yeah, I've got a lot of interest in Pittsburgh 1. They're probably one of my favorite lines to target on the slate tonight, especially with Ben Kendall up there on that top line. Just $2,800. It's worth noting any Pittsburgh 1 stacks, both Crosby and Kendall have center eligibility. So got to get a little bit weird, a little bit different there with some of your lineup construction. But I think for that reason, I've also got some interest. They're drawing some modest ownership here tonight. It's easy to see why with Charlie Lindgren getting the start. Washington, especially Washington 2, I keep feeling like I'm left wanting more anytime I play that line. I think I've got some interest in getting there tonight. I just don't really know if they're necessarily a must for me. Artur Silovs has been solid so far this season, 7 starts, 3 wins. He's got a 71% quality start percentage so far this season, 913 save percentage, 8 goals saved above expected. Probably going to come in a little bit under on Washington tonight. A lot of interest on that Pittsburgh top line. Moving it on here to the 6th game of the night, we've got the Nashville Predators in the community hosting the Philadelphia Flyers, minus 119 on the money line for the Preds. 3.0 implied total for them. 2.8 for the Philadelphia Flyers. I don't know about you, but it feels like this line should be flipped. I kind of like this Philadelphia side here. Top line grading out 16th best overall.
I can give a little bit of insight here on Philadelphia.
Let's hear it.
Somebody, I don't know who, somebody loves the Predators tonight. They got steamed heavy last night into this morning. And I've been betting on the Flyers today. I agree. I like the Flyers in this one. They got up to like plus 117 at one point. But yeah, Nashville was getting steamed. Somebody really seems to like the Predator side of things in this game, which is interesting.
Yeah, I think that's one way to put it for sure. The Predators aren't really grading out very well on the slate tonight. 28th best overall for that top line, second line grading out 38th best overall. Philadelphia top six, they look like they're in a decent spot here. They're not drawing a ton of ownership, 5.3% for that top line, 2% for that second line. The matchups are definitely tough here on this Philadelphia side of things. It is a game that has the lowest pace score of the night. So certainly, something to kind of keep an eye on and be a little bit concerned about there. But this Philadelphia top line, Owen Tippett, Christian Dvorak, and Trevor Zegras have been chugging along at a pretty good clip. Trevor Zegras looking tremendous so far this season. I think he's a guy that I'm ready to start getting onto here with this Philadelphia side of things. He's had success against Nashville in his career too, 4 goals and 12 points in 10 games played. A little less interest, as you kind of get a little bit deeper down this lineup here on this Philadelphia side of things. Matvei Michkov, I know you were talking about him on your show the other day, shooting just 4% this season. It's been a tough sledding for him so far in his sophomore season. This Nashville side of things, they're not grading out well from a matchup perspective. That top line is basically the only line that really does a whole lot out there on any given basis. Some of the depth pieces I think are okay. Like I'm fine one-offing Matthew Wood at $2,700. He's got a pretty solid floor thanks to some good shot volume, 10.9 shots on goal per hour. That leads all Nashville Predators this season. I just don't really know if I can get there on this Nashville side of things. Philadelphia has been playing really good hockey to start the season. Defensively, their underlying metrics have been really solid here as of late. Their penalty kill has been tremendous as well. So, I just don't really see a need to get to Nashville really at all here tonight. This Philadelphia side feels like the one that I want to target.
Yeah, Nashville's been tough to get to on a regular basis in good matchups. This matchup doesn't feel like one that is very good at all. This is a Philadelphia team that I talk about quite frequently. They grade out as the number 1 defensive team at 5v5 in terms of expected goals against per 60, according to Sports Logic. Offensively, a little bit of a different story. 26 for them. They don't really they play extremely low event hockey, so it makes them difficult to play against. So targeting the Predators is tricky, but it also kind of makes the Flyers difficult to target. With that being said, the Nashville Predators are the complete opposite defensively. They are 31st in the league in terms of 5v5 expected goals against per 60. So definitely a team that is gettable. Whether or not the Flyers can get to them is the main question. But I agree, Philadelphia 1 is probably the priority for me, the way that Zegras, Tippett, and company are playing right now. The way the lines are, like Bobby Brink had a good night the other night. I think you could probably make a case to get to Philadelphia too. And I think there's enough talent at a really, really cheap price there that like somebody like Mishkov at $4,300, if he ever has a, kind of coming out party here again this season, it's a good time to buy low there. So I do like this Philadelphia Flyers side of things this evening, but how much I'm actually going to get there, I think is tough. It's worth mentioning Mishkov, is 2.33 goals scored below expected on the season. So been a little bit snake bit, and I do think that he's got some value. But again, the underlying metrics here just aren't great, even in a good matchup. So I think that I'll probably not play this game a ton, but I do think the Flyers win this hockey game, and hopefully all that Nashville steam is the wrong side. Any Philadelphia 3. I think Konechny and Cates as a mini stack is a fine option. Cates plays a ton. Konechny obviously is gonna do some damage. Like I said, this is very similar to like what we always talk about with like the LA Kings. I think this is a team that can score 3 or 4 goals tonight and win this hockey game, but is it going to be all from, a goal from every different line and nobody's really optimal? Like, that is kind of the problem with the Flyers. More so than not, it's been that Zegras line as of late. Konechny does great out as the best player on the slate, but then you got Zegras and Tippett as the next two best. So I think I prefer that first line, then probably that third line with Konechny and Cates, and then kind of a really buy low option here on Mishkov, Couturier, and Brink. But again, I think there's a pretty good chance the scoring ends up being spread out a little bit. This comment made me laugh. Hey guys, I need to win $10,000 today. Help your boy out. We're trying our best. We could all use 10K today. We are trying our best, but let's kill it today. Hopefully when we record tomorrow or when we go live tomorrow, we have helped you secure the bag, if you will. So let's keep rolling along here with the Dallas Stars and the Anaheim Ducks. I talked about it at the top of the show. This is probably the game that hinges, the entire slate hinges on the most for a variety of reasons. Let's get to reason number one. Reason number one, the Dallas Stars grade out as the number 1 line. The Anaheim Ducks second line grades out as number 2 line. Now, the problem here is many things. Number one, Rupe Hintz is a game time decision tonight. The Stars gave us absolutely no indication what these lines are going to look like. Yesterday in practice, Robertson skated with Hintz and Johnson. Problem is, Mikko Rantanen was not on the ice. So what I've done is gone back to the lines that they used the last time that Rupe Hintz was in the lineup. But we just saw Robertson, Johnson, and Rantanen absolutely cave the Oilers in the other night. We've seen Johnson and Rantanen have some success together recently. We know Robertson and Hintz have some chemistry together. So there's a variety of ways that this could go. It could go exactly as I have it projected. We could see Robertson, Johnson, Rantanen together, or we could see Johnson, Rantanen, and Hintz, Robertson on separate lines. There's so many ways this could go. So just be fully prepared when you build around the Dallas Stars for this to be not right, because there's probably a 33% chance this is correct and a 66% chance that this is wrong. But I used as much science as possible and went back to the lines that they used the last time Hintz was in the lineup. So just wanted to clear the air and get that out of the way here right away. So with that said, Robertson, very popular. Johnson, very popular. Rantanen and Hintz, not so much. But obviously, we know that this is a Ducks team that is playing extremely well offensively right now. The problem is defensively, they are still giving up a ton. Then on the flip side, the Dallas Stars, they've been kind of, hit or miss. I to put it lightly. Like sometimes it may be good, sometimes it may be shit. But when they're on, they're on. And getting Hintz back in the lineup will certainly help this evening. So this is a very interesting game. The matchups are absolutely spectacular on the Dallas Stars side of things. However they decide to roll out their lines tonight, I'm in. I'm going to play Dallas tonight. I think it's a good spot. That being said, in lineups where you are fading the Dallas Stars, Lucas Dostal has some real chalk-busting upside this evening and is just $6,900. So nice. If the Ducks go into Anaheim and can pull off the upset here, Lucas Dostal, $6,900 is going to open up a lot of value. Now, I probably feel better, as you mentioned earlier, about Dobish, who's $100 more expensive than I do Dostal. I think that matchup is a little bit cushier. I think the Canadians have a pretty good chance to win that hockey game in what seems to be a lower event game. But in terms of pure leverage, there's much more leverage coming with a Dostal play than the Dobish play. So that is another thing that just makes this slate extremely interesting. He's the cheapest goalie by a mile. The other thing is that Anaheim 2 grades out the second best on the night. Carter Gauthier, $6,600, seemingly inevitable. Just going to score tonight. It's just going to happen. Tom pointed out a good point here about Dallas. Dallas are known liars. Line rushes and warm-ups can show one thing. The game starts as something completely different. Just play the big four in any combo. That has been the case this year, especially with Bork and Sam Steele and guys. It's been kind of like double shift here, double shift there, double shift here, and they kind of just all play together. And then obviously the power play is another beast of its own. But Cutter Gauthier, simply inevitable. Mason McTavish, Bennett Seneca, they have very good online metrics together. They're all getting up there in price, but Gauthier is a great play by himself. If you want to stack them, that's fine. If you want to run it through the power play, the power play has been very, very good. The Dallas Stars penalty kill has been pretty mediocre. Both power plays grayed out in the top 3 tonight. Both teams projected to see a healthy amount of power plays this evening. Both power plays performing at a top 10 clip. The Dallas Stars power play has been unbelievable. Both penalty kills kind of bottom third of the league or bottom half of the league. So lots to like. I think you could certainly get to the Anaheim power play, that being through Leo Carlson and Chris Kreider and Cutter Gauthier. I think you can get to the Dallas Stars power play through the big four that we've already mentioned, and that's probably the easiest way to go because you don't really have to worry about who plays with who at 5v5. Hopefully the power play clicks. So this game is super, super interesting. I think that there's just the options are plentiful in this one. I'm going to have plenty of exposure to this game across the board. Zach, what are your feelings here on Anaheim Dallas? It should be an absolute barn burner.
Yeah, this really feels like the game that's going to dictate the slate, especially with all this, heavy steam coming in on this Dallas side of things here tonight. I like the idea of kind of just building around, the big four, because when you are building tonight, you're going to have to make sure any Dallas stacks you have is going to have some salary left over, or the ability to kind of pivot and maneuver depending on how these 5-on-5s lines kind of shake up. But I think the idea of just kind of building around this power play is probably the safest way to go here in this game. And I think for that reason, I'm probably going to be over the field on guys like Rupe Hintz and Mikko Rantanen, as both of them are just drawing like 5-6% ownership here. While Robertson and Johnson are up closer to, 11, 12, 13%. Definitely a fascinating game here. Obviously Dallas 2 looks like the best line to target here tonight. I mean, they just look to be in a great spot. This Ducks team has been fascinating. I mean, they've been just so good to start the season here. Over their last 10 games, they've been on an absolute PDO heater at 5-on-5, 104 PDO for them. They're shooting 12%, 918, 919 save percentage, 3.3 goals for per hour. They've been awesome, man. And I just, as much as a PDO burner kind of can scare you at times, it almost feels like, especially offensively, it's legit. I mean, they've just been so dynamic this season from an offensive perspective. Obviously still trying to figure things out defensively, which is something that'll come in due time. But, a young team with as many, young offensively gifted players they have, Carlson, Terry, Gauthier, McTavish, Beckett, Seneke, all up in that top 6. They're a fun team to stack, man. And I really feel like they're a great pivot option here on this slate. Cutter Gauthier has been just, unbelievably good this season. 2.8 goals for per hour, 16.1 shots on goal per hour of ice time, basically a lock in any cash lineup you build. And at $6,600, he feels like he should be a lot more expensive. Based on the production he's had this year, it feels like he should be an 8K player. So, if we're getting a $1,400 discount on Gauthier on a regular basis, I have no problem getting over the field on his ownership regularly. Oh yeah. And he's drawing just 3.5% ownership here. Jake Ottinger has obviously been, a great goaltender for a very long time. He's been solid this season, not spectacular. 5 wins in 9 starts on the year, quality starts in 67% of his games played, 913 save percentage, 5.3 goals saved above expected. But Dostal has been really good this season too. 6 wins in 10 starts, 60% quality start percentage, 12.7 goals saved above expected. He's been absolutely tremendous and really kind of helping bail out some of these defensive inefficiencies that this Ducks team has. So I like the idea of getting to Dostal here tonight. I'm probably going to be well over the field at 5%. Like, I'll probably easily be up around that 15% range, as a potential chalk buster here on this slate tonight. So I'm going to see probably a lot of ownership coming in here tonight on this game in my 20 max.
Yeah, it's funny because it's a game that we're both super interested in, but it feels like you have to be on both sides of the puck and maybe play some goalies, because I think it's one that's hard to pinpoint exactly how it's going to happen. I pulled up Cutter's stats over his last few, his season's been insane. His last seven game point streak, 7 goals, 6 assists, averaging 4.6 shots per game and 8 shot attempts per game. He's just been unbelievable, basically inevitable. Let's get to the Kings and the Panthers, which is significantly less exciting. Just before you break it down here, our guy Beebs, if you didn't see it on screen a moment ago, LA is unconfirmed, but according to their beat reporter here, without a full group on the ice, it's unconfirmed who will start this evening, but I'd lean towards it being Anton Forsberg, as Darcy Kemper was the lone netminder who took part in the partial practice. So it could be Forsberg, but the beat goes on to say that Forsberg has been excellent in his career, posting a 942 save percentage and a 248 goals against average in 6 career appearances against the Panthers. So stole your bit there for a second, but that's kind of interesting to say the least. Let's get to LA and Florida.
Yeah, certainly interesting. this game, for as much as we talk about the Dallas Anaheim game being very exciting, this game feels almost significantly less so. You've got the Kings hosting the Florida Panthers here in a pick of -107 favorites, slight favorites. The Kings are on home ice, 2.9 implied total for them, 2.8 for the Florida Panthers. The Kings have just really struggled offensively this season. Like, they just cannot seem to get anything going. They have been a tough play from a DFS perspective. This second line we have targeted, in bunches over recent years. And Kevin Fiala's shot volume continues to be good. Same with LaFerriere. Byfield's is okay. Kempe's is okay. But it just feels like they're really not capitalizing offensively as much as they have in the past. And I don't know if this feels like a spot where they're going to be able to do so. The matchup scores are pretty bleak for the LA Kings, but they're also pretty bleak for the Florida Panthers, who in the same breath have kind of left you feeling wanting more all season long. I think I prefer this Florida side of things more than I prefer the LA side of things here tonight. 5% ownership coming in on LA1, and this Panthers team is just drawing no ownership whatsoever. Ida Luosterainen has been, pretty solid here so far this season. Anton Liddell and Brad Marchand too. Like, they've been good. This second line and line two now of Evan Rodriguez, Carter Verhaeghe, and Sam Reinhart, they're the one that's really needing to pick up the bootstraps offensively here. Scoring just 1.7 goals for per hour of ice time versus 3.2 expected goals per hour. I don't know if I have a ton of interest in this game because they are still two fairly solid defensive hockey teams. But I think with the Florida Panthers coming in with such low ownership as they have, I kind of like the idea of getting to them. And for as much as we can talk about Anton Forsberg's solid stats in the past, it's also worth mentioning that he's just not been good this year. Once again, 894 save percentage, just 0.6 goals saved above expected. So I don't mind getting to this Florida Panthers side of things here tonight. I don't really know if I'm going to get there on this LA side of things. I mean, it's just been so rough offensively for them this season. Those metrics for that top nine as a whole have been extremely, extremely bleak.
Yeah, I'll keep it short and sweet. I'm probably not playing this game at all. It's by far the lowest total game on the slate. The under 5.5 is -117 right now. So it is expected to be a really low scoring affair here. Both these teams, according to Sports Logic, 5v5 data. Florida second best defensive team, LA fifth best. Two really good defensive clubs. Shouldn't be a lot of room out there tonight. Vegas and Tampa could be a little bit more exciting. The Vegas Golden Knights -150.
One more thing to add really quick. Florida does come in with the second best power play matchup on the entire slate. I think that's an interesting way to go here, considering the fact that Kings are shorthanded 3.9 times per game, just a 76.4 power play percentage for them. Florida's power play hasn't been a whole lot greater, but I think, if I'm throwing 5% ownership total at the Florida Panthers tonight, it's probably coming through that power play.
Yeah, that's the only way the over hits tonight is if both teams just are terribly undisciplined. Vegas and Tampa. Vegas -150 home favorites here. Tampa +104. This game is, I think I have a really difficult time figuring out who either of these teams are right now. I think they're both pretty good hockey teams. The way things are going with Vegas, it's like, they just blow the doors off a team one game and then just look kind of mediocre the next. Like, their 5v5 metrics, they're 14th best in terms of 5v5 expected goals for. Tampa Bay's 13th best. Defensively, both these teams are in the top 10. So I kind of think this is also like similar to that Colorado Tampa game the other night. Like, I think again we're probably looking at like a game in which both teams can certainly score, but it's probably going to be a little bit tighter. Another like 3-2 looking hockey game, similar to that game the other night. And I think that's kind of how the charts feel as well. No line grading out inside, or no higher than 19th. No real ownership to speak of. Very expensive on both sides. Mitch Marner going back up to the top line makes that Jack Eichel line a little bit better. Braden Point, Brandon Hagel, Nikita Kucherov have just been playing monster minutes for the Tampa Bay Lightning. So I think there's a way in which both of these top lines find some success tonight, but the matchup scores are pretty bad. The underlying metrics are solid. They're just not where we kind of expect, and they're kind of the polar opposites of each other, right? Top line for Vegas is scoring without generating a lot. They've been pretty fortunate. You could say that the top line for Tampa has been a little bit unfortunate. So it's a game that I think again, has some sneaky potential. It'll probably draw a little bit more of my interest on like a late slate than rather playing this entire 9-game slate. Carl Lindbaum's one good game, one bad game. He did face this Tampa Bay Lightning team a couple of weeks ago. It was a 2-1 overtime win for the Lightning. He stopped 26 of 28. So we've already got these two teams meeting this season. It was a lower scoring game. Wouldn't be surprised if that's replicated tonight. Is worth mentioning. Brandon Hagel had a goal and an assist in that game. Nikita Kucherov scored the overtime winner. So that Tampa Bay top line has already found a little bit of success. They grade out fairly well tonight. I think that's interesting. But the problem for Tampa is just this power play has been absolutely anemic going up against a really good PK. Similar thing for Vegas. So I do think this game probably looking a little bit lower scoring. Obviously, that's always a little scary to say when you've got, as much talent offensively as there is in this game, but it just doesn't feel like one that's going to explode tonight. So do you have any differing opinions on Vegas and Tampa before we wrap things up?
Not really. I don't really have a whole lot of interest in this game. I mean, I've said it before, Vegas has been a tough play. Maybe a little bit of that second line's okay for the Golden Knights. Probably get a little bit of this top line for Tampa Bay, but I don't really like this game much.
Yeah, in terms of the over-unders of 6 tonight, this one has the best odds of the under hitting. So probably the third lowest implied total on the night. Makes a lot of sense to kind of avoid for the most part. Let's get to our defensemen and our goalies. We wrap up the show. We had another hat trick last night. Tyler Bertuzzi of all characters. He obviously watched the show and hates me, but so yeah, we're gonna have to raffle off another $25 gift card tomorrow, and then we'll have our giveaway on Friday like we always do. So make sure you might as well just at least put in any hat trick pick at this point because there's a hat trick every night this year. It's been unreal. Artem Zub continues to grade out really solid at $2,900. I think he makes some sense. These Carolina defensemen are still really cheap. Mike Riley, Nikishin, Keandre Miller, all under 4K, grading out really, really well tonight. Brant Clark, don't really love that game though. Brock Faber's floor has just been unbelievable at $4,400, drawing literally no ownership in a game where Minnesota looks okay. We've got Miro Heiskanen at 5,600. I think he makes some sense with those Dallas stacks we spoke about earlier. Who else? Michael Kesselring, $2,600 is a great value. Matt Roy is going to block 100 shots tonight. Same with Alex Carrier, probably. Anybody that stands out to you? Connor Timmins has been a solid play at $2,700. Anybody?
Yeah, you kind of hit the nail on the head with a lot of them. I mean, Artem Zub has been a really interesting player this year on that top pairing for the Senators. $2,900 with under 1% ownership, grading as a top value play. Certainly a fascinating guy there tonight. Matthias Samuelsson, I've talked about him a little bit before. I think he's a solid play at $3,100. I like him here tonight. I think otherwise you kind of covered it off pretty well. Kesselring, another defenseman from the Sabres there, 2,600 is a nice punt play as well.
Yeah, I think for me, for the most part, it's going to come mostly through like Carolina defenseman, Ottawa defenseman, Buffalo, a little bit of that Pittsburgh, Washington, Dallas, Anaheim game is kind of where most of my exposure will come through for defensemen. As far as the goalies go tonight, Jake Odger graded out as the number one goalie to target tonight, $8,500. I mean, Cutter's he's already given up a goal. At least one, right? Cutter's already got one. So Jake Odger's probably a little too steep for that matchup. Frederik Andersen, probably pretty similar. He just hasn't been great this year. I don't know if I trust him at $8,300. I don't mind the play, but it's tough there. UPL, against the St. Louis Blues. I feel similarly there. I think that's a little bit difficult to trust. I do like Kemper and Bob. I think, again, that's going to be a lower scoring game. And then obviously Vasilevsky at $7,400 seems to make a lot of sense as well. Those three will probably be like the top end of my payment scale here this evening. Then I really am going to get back to Dan Vladar tonight, put my faith back in him. And then also Jakub Dobeš and Lucas Dostal at the bottom. So not really a big pay up night for me. How about you?
Yeah, I kind of agree with you here tonight. Like I like some of these, cheaper goaltenders on this slate tonight. We talked about guys like Dostal and Jakub Dobeš. Like I really like the idea of kind of paying down here for these guys tonight with very little ownership coming their way. Of these more expensive guys, I don't know if there's necessarily anybody that's like really jumping out to me as being in great spots. I'll probably have a little bit of Jake Onger tonight just to kind of get, more and different exposure to that game. I don't know if I love Freddie Anderson or UPL, Kemper, Soros. They feel kind of gross. Seelov's at $7,600. I think he's a fine play on this slate tonight. It kind of feels like a weaker night for goaltending. I don't really know entirely where I'm going with it all yet.
Yeah, and just worth mentioning, we're expecting word around 4:45 p.m. Eastern on the Carolina goalie. So it's not necessarily going to be Frederik Andersen. I think if it is Kochetkov, I might have a little bit more interest in him, just the way that first game went for him. Anderson's been a little bit shakier so far. Let's get to the top stacks of the night, as we always do. We'll round out our top 10 here. Dallas 2, Anaheim 2, Montreal 1, Carolina 2, Minnesota 1, Washington 2, Buffalo 1, Dallas 1, Washington 1, Florida 2, rounding out the top 10. For me, very interested in that Dallas-Anaheim game, especially those two lines that you see there, kind of more of the Dallas power play than anything. Definitely interested in the Carolina side of things. Definitely like Buffalo 1 tonight. Quite a bit of interest in that back and forth potential game between Washington and Pittsburgh. Anybody that really stands out to you tonight?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Dallas and Anaheim, going to draw a lot of my ownership tonight. I really like Pittsburgh 1 tonight. They're seeing some steam at 7.6% as the second highest owned line. Both Ben Kendall up there. I really, really like that line here in this spot tonight. Probably get to some of this Philadelphia 1 line. And Ottawa 1 is probably one of my favorite lower owned stacks of the night here. Drawing 1.2% ownership. I think they're in a really good spot here going up against the Bruins.
Yeah, pretty surprised how much they're getting overlooked. Why don't you give me your hat trick pick? And if you want to participate in today's hat trick pick challenge, all you got to do is drop your hat trick pick in the comment section of the video on YouTube. If your player scores a hat trick, we'll get you a $25 gift card to Nation Gear. But even if your player doesn't score a hat trick and somebody scores a hat trick that nobody picked, we'll raffle off that $25 gift card to anybody that submitted a pick. And we've done that plenty. I don't think we've had a single correct guess this year, have we? Maybe one. I think one. And then the rest have just been giveaways on other hat tricks. And obviously, we have tomorrow where we just give one away every Friday. Tim Stützle, Drake Batherson together this year. Pretty surprised. Just a 2.04 expected goals for per 60, but are scoring at 4.9 goals for per 60. They've been a little bit fortunate, but definitely a nice matchup here. And then I think we talked a little bit about Ottawa 3. But who is your hat trick pick for tonight, Zach?
Going to be a chalky one. I'm going to go with Jason Robertson.
Ooh, J-Rob. RoboCop, give me... I am going to go with Nikolai Ehlers again. It's going to happen eventually. I'm just going to pick him every time until he scores a hat trick. That's going to do it for this edition of the DFO DFS Report. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Please smash that like button. Hit the subscribe button as well so you never miss an episode. We love doing these every single day, Monday through Friday. We'll be back tomorrow for a 4-game slate, if I recall correctly. Before we go, though, shout out to our friends at rotogrinders.com for providing projected ownership for today's show. If you want to get $20 off your first month of RotoGrinders Premium, you can do so by clicking the link in the description of the video on YouTube. We also have a promo for 20% off of Action Network Premium in the description as well. If you want to up your betting game, get 20% off your first month of Action Network Premium, you can do so there. And we also have the link to our DFO DFS Discord. If you want access to these charts before the show goes live and you want to follow along as we chat about everything, you can do so. Just join the Discord for free. You can get access to these charts every single day, Monday through Friday. And that's going to do it for us on this 9-game slate. I can confirm it is a 4-game slate tomorrow. Diego wanted to say, great show as always, guys. Thanks for all you do. No problem. Thanks for tuning in. Smash that like button. Thank you from CFL fan, and a thanks from yesterday's winner, INF_YT. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'm Brock Seguin. We got Zach Laing with us as always. See you back here tomorrow. Until then, cheers.
Cheers.